Hello and welcome to Modern Broadcast. We are back at it again with GB Studio. This time around, what we're going to be doing is making a visual novel. For those of you that don't know what a visual novel is, basically is an interactive story that a lot of people kind of misinterpret that as just a story kind of movie type deal, but what people got to remember is that it's an interactive story. So think of like a choose your own adventure, but with visuals and not just a text-based one. So I did get a couple comments asking how to make a visual novel. Is there a way to do so in GB Studio? One person asked about transitions. I'm sorry, I'm not good at transitions. I tried messing with this and spent quite some time on it. I'm just not good at it. So unfortunately, I can't do that. So if you're watching this to see transitions, unfortunately, I don't have nothing for you. But for those of you that are interested in making a visual novel in GB Studio or what that could look like, stick around. All right, so here we are in our YouTube tutorial video file, and what you may notice is that the arcade has changed since the last time you may have seen it, as we were just using this game over placeholder page. I went ahead, I made an actual arcade that .neko oversees, and just kind of a little Easter egg, put him in there manning the Crypto Neko arcade. So if you go and talk to him, he just says, hey, go use a machine. And the machine puts you in our Halloween game. If you didn't see that video prior, I'll leave a link in the description below. Same with our turn-based combat. We are going to revisit this here very soon and actually do like a health bar and kind of show, a health bar getting ticked down or something a little bit more involved than what we did prior in that video. So, but it's a great place to start. So go ahead and check out the links down in the description below for those tutorials. So today we are doing a visual novel. And this is quite a task, and it's quite fun with the limitations that the Game Boy has. So you can really challenge yourself, you can really kind of make something out of this. And I have had this game idea that I wanted to call Everstar for quite some years now, where the player is a bounty hunter and they choose different bounties to go after, and they choose whether to kill that bounty or to arrest that bounty, and then they get paid based off of that. And so I'm going to use some inspiration from that, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I already made my assets. I utilized itch.io for these assets. If you are a game creator or a game developer or someone that is interested in game development but not very handy or crafty with pixel art and or making game assets, I strongly recommend you use itch.io. I have a link in the description below. First thing that we need to do here, we have our Halloween game, our elevator that takes us to each of the floors for this tutorial. We're going to go ahead and click this plus button here and go scene. Click that in here, and we're going to we're going to change this over to a compound. So where this story is going to be taking place, it's kind of in a dystopian futuristic kind of, anime style, where our player frequents a bar called the Everstar, and the bartender there, her name is Lucy, she goes and provides some information to where to find this bounty, Apollo. Now, Apollo was already an Easter egg here, the Cyclops character that we utilized earlier in the turn-based battle. That's where Apollo came from. Is from this storyline that I have been creating and that I've been crafting in the background. So with that information, our player is going to be infiltrating this compound where Apollo's at, and the player gets to decide whether or not they're going to arrest Apollo or if they're going to take Apollo in cold. So here we have our first scene, and this is just kind of making a place marker here, and we need to change this. I can stay that actually, but let's rename the scene. Let's call it VN Compound. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to add another scene. I'm just going to kind of outline most of the scenes here and get things kind of in order where they need to be. So here's our little player character. Look at our little detective. this is going to be our bounty hunter, and this is definitely inspired by Cowboy Bebop before anybody starts speculating. Yes, I loved Cowboy Bebop when I was younger, and definitely some key inspiration there. So we're gonna go ahead and let's call that player. I don't want to call it player. Visual novel dialogue, right? Okay. So we're gonna show the compound. You know, this isn't too pretty to look at. When it's on a small screen, it looks phenomenal, but kind of here on the bigger screen, it looks a little So after we show the compound, what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to a dialogue where our character is going to talk to themselves and basically be like, hey, I'm here. Now I gotta do these things. You know, we're gonna not exactly noir inspire. Like, we don't want like, my feet were walking on the pavement. It's raining. It's cold. Nothing like that. That's a bit too much. But we're gonna have the character kind of talk and explain to our player that, you know, what we need to do here. Okay, let's go ahead. So initiate, right? We need to hide the player. Okay, and then we want to wait. And let's wait 1.3 seconds, and then we'll change scenes. And that's fine. We'll change here. And then so when this is here on this one, want to hide player again, and we want to display dialogue. So let's go ahead and say, here I am inside the compound. We'll just kind of set the mood. We'll set the scene a little bit quieter than oh man, they really expanded that. We can just keep going, can't we? I don't want it to get too long. It'll look weird. So let's go ahead and click that. So we add again. Oops, and pushing. It could be hiding a guard every corner. Okay, then let's go ahead and add another scene. Let's go ahead and add, where you at? Gonna get this dialogue up here just so we can kind of keep this organized a little bit. I'm just gonna scroll this over so we can actually see what we're doing. Okay, and I don't like this blue. I mean, the blue's nice, but we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna make this really black and white, right? There we go. So here's our little map that we have. So our player's gonna come in here, and we're gonna have to navigate the dungeon, get to Apollo's office, right? Okay, to secure our bounty. So let's go ahead and do VN compounds map. Okay, so there we have that. Go back here, and we're gonna change scene. We wanna make sure that we're facing upwards, okay? Now, there's gonna be a lot of programming that happens in here, but basically, let's go ahead and program the elevator real quick. So that way we can get in here. Number of options, we're going to change that to 4. The 4th option, we're going to make this be visual novel. Okay. 2, just kidding, we're going to make this visual novel. And we'll make this back to the question marks. Okay. Copy this event. We'll insert event, paste event before. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's test that out and just make sure that that part's working. Part 2, visual novel. Perfect. We can change the sprite if we want to over here. I just wanted to make sure that that was working. So we now have that. What we're going to do is we're going to add a couple actors real quick just so we can get everything organized and where it needs to be. We'll make that a door, and we'll add another one. We'll make that a door as well. Okay. So this elevator, we'll make this one go back to here, right? There. So that elevator will take you back here. Okay. All right. So what we're going to want to do here is we have that dialogue happening, right? Where we say that and then we switch scenes. But now this is a Game Boy game. We need this to be fairly small and keep the file size small. So we're going to reuse this image a few times so that way we can make sure that, you know, we're just reusing the same assets that we have. We're not taking up more memory slots by adding this image, you know, 3-4 times. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to add an event, and I'm going to go to switch, right? Oops. We're going to go true or false, right? So if variable is true, I'm going to move this up. We're going to go variable 6, and we'll name this visual novel first dialogue. Okay, so if it's true, do these commands. If it's not, which by default it won't be, it will say these things. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to go set variable to true, and we want to scroll down to visual novel first dialogue, and we want to make sure that it's above change scene. So if you change scenes and then have that event happen afterwards, it won't actually turn it on. It needs to be before the scene changes. So we're going to set the variable first dialogue to true. So then it will follow this command when we come back here, and it won't keep playing this. Okay, so here we have our map, and our player will get here. There's a lot of potential here, and there's a lot of things that we can do. We already made this elevator return back to our kind of hub, so that way we can get to the other tutorials if needed or if we want. Let's go ahead and set up our borders, so that way our player can't walk through walls, can't walk into the ether, and they have their restraints on where they can go and cannot go. Okay, there we go. So now our player can only go on the path that we designated, and we want to add, there's a few things. I mean, we can add actors or bad guys, kind of, oops, not that one, just randomly in the dungeon that kind of parole around, or we can kind of Pokemon it where if it's in, line of sight, they see us and then, come attack us and we start a fight that way. There's many different things that we can do to kind of have bad guys. What I'm interested in doing for this tutorial, since we already kind of did turn-based combat over here, what I'm interested in is kind of doing a random, generated, that, kind of like Pokemon style. If we're walking around, so what we're going to utilize is triggers. And we're allowed to have 30 triggers on any given map. And so I'm going to start with one, and then we'll expand it, by doing this, and, we can make it long, small, whatever we need to kind of make it fill this entire map area. And again, we're allowed 30 of these, but we're going to start with one, and then we're just going to copy and paste it multiple times. So we'll kind of hit like the corners, I think. So we can kind of like map this out how we want. Anyways, a visual novel is an interactive story. We could just have these, dialogue things, but that's boring, or you could have choices in those dialogues. You want puzzles in your visual novels. You want, something for your player to do, so that way they're not just getting bored watching and reading a book. So have your player do things, have your player solve puzzles, have them fight. Just don't have it be story. You'll bore your audience. Where I honestly just going to take this, we'll copy the script, come over here, and we'll replace the script. But we don't want it to always, like every time we come into it, that it happens. So we need to do another variable. That variable to value. Nope, I'm sorry, math function. I always forget that. You want a math function, and we want set to random, and we'll set it to 30, between the values of 0 and 30. Okay, so when we enter, we're going to set local 0, that's fine, between 0 and 30. If, statement now, compare with value. So if local 0 is equal to, and then we want greater than or equal to, right? So we want greater than or equal to 25. Then that doesn't make sense. We'd have to change scenes. What am I doing? I'm losing it. VN random encounter. Oh yeah. So upon entering, we want to store current scene on stack, right? We learned that here in turn-based. So we want to store the current scene on stack, and we want to change scene, and we want it to go here. So that way, if player health is 0, do that. Okay. Restore previous scene from stack. Same deal. If 0, game over. Okay. All right. So we are all set with that, and we can take this, copy it, and we want it to go there, and maybe we want it to go over here. And I mean, hypothetically, what you could do is each one of these, we can expand each one separately and whatnot, but you could take this and then you can make it different enemies if you want different regions. Like if you want certain monsters to spawn here, but you want knights to spawn over here, you could definitely do that and make that happen. So now I think that's good enough for what we have. We also should probably set our player health just in case. So else, let's go ahead, add event, set value. I should set it to 100, right? Just to make sure we have enough. Okay, so our goal is basically for them to approach this door, right? This is going to be Apollo's door. And if we click here, upon interacting, we're going to display dialogue. It's locked. Okay, actually, we need a variable here, don't we? So we need a variable. Oops, that's not how you spell variable. If, we'll go to variable 7. We'll rename it Apollo's door locked, right? So Apollo's door locked. So if true, so it is currently true. We want to say it's locked. All right, so we have our variable here. We named it Apollo's door. So else, because by default, it's not going to be on. So by default, when we approach this door and we push a button on it, it's going to say it's locked. Then we want to go ahead. Let's go ahead and trigger another scene, right? Let's go ahead and type in set variable. We'll scroll down here. Let's go variable 8. We'll rename it. Go VN dialog 2. Okay. Then we'll store current scene on stack and we'll change scene. By default, it's game over screen. We're going to go over here. So we're back here on our dialog page. Now, like I said, we're going to reuse this a few times. So that way it's working. And actually, we don't need to do that dialog 2. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to delete this because we already changed that 1 to set it to true after we left, right? So it's true now. So we're just going to use this first dialog to talk about what we need now, right? We're going to go display dialog, the computer. I need to access computer, right? It's the key to accessing his office. You just need to find, goes off the page. Find it, hack it, get what I need. Then we want to restore, okay? Okay, so I did make a mistake here. So when here, what we want to do is we do want to trigger. We want to set true, so set variable to true. We do want to set dialog 2 to true, right? So then, because when we're up here, we want to add event and say if variable is true. So if dialog 2 is true, then it will do these here. So this will just help us out in that way we can have, you know, if this is true, then it's going to check if this is true, or if this is, or if this is, or if this is, and go from there. One thing that we need to do before we set back is we need to set the variable to false. So set the variable, and before we transition back out, we need to set dialog 2 to false. Because if we talk to this door again and it's locked, it's going to set it to true. And then when we come back here, it's still going to play through this, set it back to false. And basically, we're just going to be flipping the light switch on and off. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to add an actor here. And we'll put this down here and we're just going to make it the arcade machine. There we go. Arcade machine. So this is going to be our little computer guy that we're going to utilize and upon interact. So let's go ahead. There's our random encounters. So we got that going for us. I'm going to go ahead, click this guy. I'm going to move him here. Click our encounter, move it over here just to kind of keep it somewhat organized a little bit. And what we need to do now is add some scenes. So we're going to go ahead and click this. And we're going to go PC. And we don't want this to be a top 2 down. We want this to be a point and click. So we're going to have a point and click. We're going to be able to click on some stuff and make things happen. So we're going to add another scene here. Let's make this the mail. Yeah, that worked. Okay. Change this scene to VN computer. VN computer mail, right? And what would be handy is if I actually typed on this and actually formed a letter inside here. I could definitely do that for the final product, but I forgot to do that. So upon interacting with this, what we want to do is we want to make a beep sound, right? Sound effect. I don't like that. Let's do a tone. Not for that long. Let's go 0.15, right? That's pretty good. Let's make it 500. 400? Okay, I think that sounds pretty good. When we click on the computer, it's going to go boop, and then we're going to change scenes. We might wait for a second. Let's go ahead and do a quick wait for 0.3 seconds, just to give it time. And here we go. We want this. We'll have that be right there. And again, this is a point and click. We need to make this not top 2 down. We need to make this point and click as well. And to set up point and clicks, you basically are utilizing triggers. So this here is a trigger. If we click on the mail on interact, it changes scenes and it goes back here to the mail. And we'll have some dialogue pop up, or for now. Otherwise, we can do some other things here. Like I said, I could have typed in some stuff, just made it a background image, and then, have some font here. Okay, so real quick, last night I did take a little bit of a break. It was getting to like 3 o'clock in the morning and I was getting kind of tired, but I did end up by hand making some emails, so that way there's some content in here, and I did a few other things. So I'm just gonna go over what I did last night while I was like falling asleep at my computer. That way you guys can follow along and see everything that happened. So anyways, so here in the VN compound, when we first load up the scene to kind of get things started, what I want the door code to do is I want the door code to be random each time. I don't want it to always be the same. That way, this gives you some flexibility and some replayability. You won't be able to share the code with your friend or anything like that, because the code will have the potential to be entirely different. So here, when we load into the scene for the first time, I had it set a digit 1, set to random. This was with a math function. If you've been following along. So a math function, I created a variable called digit 1, set to random, minimum value of 0, maximum value of 9, and I did the same with digit 2. So when we get to this email here that I created, I put in 4 actors. This is digit 1, here's digit 2, and then we have 3 and 4. And I have not messed with those ones. But here we have, it says Apollo, due to the malfunctions, here is your new code. Boom, there we go. And then we set up this right here. And I have not actually gone through the process of getting this set up to confirm the password. But we have this set up with the 4 actors, digit 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then yes or no. So we still have to do digits 3 and 4. And I figured I would record those just so that way you can kind of see the process from beginning to end. So I have digit 1 and 2 done. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this event. Or, I'll do it from scratch, just so there's no questions. Not what I wanted. Insert event after and math function. Scroll on down. We're going to go to variable 11 here. And we're going to call this digit 3. Set to random. Minimum value of 0. A maximum value of not 0. Okay. That's all there is to it. And we're going to do this one last time for digit number 4. So let's go ahead and insert event, paste event after. No, insert, because I didn't copy. Math function, variable 12, rename digit 4, set to random 0 and 9. Okay, so there we have it. Now if we come down to this email on update, we have a bunch of if statements. So if digit 1 is equal to 0, we'll have the actor's frame be 0 to show 0, right? Now, if we go over here to our sprites, and we have, I made a numpad, which has all of our numbers in it, 1 through 0, okay? So if digit 1 is equal to 0, show animation frame 0, because otherwise, this would just cycle through and just constantly be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we don't want that. So we want to make sure that when we first put this actor in, the animation speed is at none. We do not want this to be going through. Instead, we want to control that ourselves. So if it's 1, show frame 1, so it'll be a 1. If 2, yada, 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 and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead. I'm going to copy this script so I could cheat on the last one, but we'll do the third one by hand so you can see how this correlates with what we did up here. Okay, so for our third one, you want to be on the on update, because you want that to constantly be renewing. And we're going to go if value, right? So if variable compare with value. So if, this is digit 3, is equal to 0, we want to set frame. So frame, set self, actor 3, frame to 0. Value, if variable compare with value, digit 3 is equal to 1, set actor frame to 1. Now, if you have all these open, it's going to get really long and you have to keep scrolling down, 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 or you can just click this little arrow here and it consolidates it just up there like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the rest of these. So now I have if digit 3 equals 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Just have to do the fourth one and we will be all set. All right, and we got the fourth one all done. If digit 4 equal 0 through 9. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and just do a play test. We'll start here so that way we get our random numbers. Let's make this full screen. And we have our random encounters in those spots. Oh, we didn't trigger it that time. Nope. Oh, we're getting lucky. Wow, we didn't trigger a single one. Okay. Well, we got lucky. We didn't trigger a single fight scene. All right. And here we have our computer. One thing to click on is here. All right. First email is lost sandwich. Hey, team. Someone took my sandwich again. If seen, please return. Thanks, Gary. All right, Gary. Elevator music from the YouTube comment section. Wow, funny there. Hi, I've sent numerous complaints about the elevator music. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also I'm keeping the elevator music. If we go to urgent security door, Apollo, due to malfunctions, here is your new code. 22, so our code will be 2245. Now, I don't have a way to leave this yet, so we'll have to work on that and making a way to leave. Okay, so let's go trigger and trigger. Actually, let's just do one, then I can copy it and paste it. Do you want to leave? All right, put that down there. Multiple choice. Yes, no. If true. Oh, we need to mess with the stack again, right? Restore previous scene from stack. So actually, when we talk to this, before we change scenes, we need to store current scene on stack. Okay, and that will transition us back out. Okay, perfect. Otherwise, it'll do nothing. So let's go ahead and paste there, right there. So it's on all the scenes, so we can leave no matter what at any time. Okay, and then it'll put us right back here. So let's go back to this door. So we need to trigger Apollo's door true. Okay, so we know that for Apollo's door to work, we need to have the event or the variable Apollo's door set to true. But how can we make sure that happens? What if the player opens this up and they read the first two emails and then they leave and they don't read the security door one? We don't want them to have the access to Apollo's door. So what we need to do is on this one here. So if they open up this email and they see the code here, on initiation, we can set the variable to true. And we'll scroll, we'll find Apollo's door. So we now have the code. So Apollo's door is true. So here we set Apollo's door to true. If they open up that security door email, and then when they go to leave, they're gonna end up right back here. So if, right, is true, if variable is true, and in this case, if Apollo's door is true, we want our player to say, great, I now have the passcode for Apollo's door. And then we want to do $, digit 1, $, digit 2, $, digit 3, and $, digit 4. Okay, so it shows up as $signs for us, but when we actually hit play, it will not. It will show the numbers on what those are. So we'll have that. Then we need to add an event, and we need set to true. So variable set to true. We're gonna go variable 13, and what we need to call this is computer code, right? Let's call it computer code. So set that to true. Then if computer code, true. So if variable is true, in this case, computer code, do nothing. Otherwise, if Apollo's door is true, follow that process and set computer code to true. So if the computer code is true, it's not going to do anything. So if we get this computer access code and then we get into a fight, and if we came back to the scene, it was going to set all of this off again and be like, oh yeah, the code's this. Oh yeah, the code's this. Oh yeah, the code's this. We don't want that. They'll just be annoying each time we get into a fight. So we created this variable computer code, so that way when it's set to true, it'll do nothing. And if it's not true, then it's going to look if Apollo door is true and do this. So let's go ahead and let's test that out. Every time you change something, you should test it. So we're going to go ahead and hit play. I'll make this full screen. There's our guy talking. All right, so we didn't get the code access thing. We have double chances of getting into fights now upon entering or leaving. Again, we're getting pretty lucky. We might have to play with the numbers a little bit. Oh, all right, we got a fight. There we go. Oh, another one. Okay. He actually hit us. Well, okay. All right. So here we are. Let's test this out. Lost sandwich. Elevator music. I'm going to start by leaving. Do you want to leave? Yes. Okay. So it didn't do anything. Let's try again. Let's open this up. Let's see what our code is. It looks like it's 2 again. 2245. Huh. What it was last time. Okay. I'm going to leave. Yes. Great. I now have the passcode for Apollo's door. 2245. Okay. Now I'm going to try to get into a fight. There we go. Okay. All right. Great. And it does not say, you know, it didn't pop up with that message again. So perfect. All right, we did that. Great. Now, so if Apollo door is true, we want to change scenes ultimately, but first we should probably have some dialogue to remind the player. Let's say they get into a ton of fights. What if we add a whole bunch of fights throughout here and they just have the worst luck? They get a fight going in, they get a fight coming out, in, out. And right now these random encounters are simple. The enemy has no health. We're just going, get out of my way. But we can make that more complicated. We can add variety. We can add different enemies to it. But that's not for this tutorial. We might want to remind the player that, hey, I'm finally here. You know, this is it's time to get the door open. And we can make it a little bit more dramatic, and we can even switch scenes to come up here. So that way we have, you know, this kind of higher resolution backdrop where the player is going to be talking to himself like, finally, you know, I'm here. I got the key. What was the code again? Oh yeah, it was, and then says the code. And then we come back here, you know, we then transfer to this scene and we put in the code. So let's go ahead and implement that. I think it gives it a little bit more flavor. It gives it a little bit more than just being right here on the screen while the character just kind of stares at this blank door. So we're going to go ahead. So if Apollo door is true, we are going to store. Let's go stack. So store the stack. And then we're going to change scenes. Where did that go? It went to scene 17. We don't want it to go to scene 17. We want it to go to up there. Perfect. Okay, so it'll go up here. Okay. All right. So let's set that back to false. So we're going to say if it's true. So true. If variable is true, and in this case is Apollo's door, we want some dialogue to show up. So finally I made it. Time to put in this passcode. What was it again? Oh, that's right. And $digit 1. That's not $digit 2. $digit 3 and $. Okay. And then we're going to change scenes again. And we're going to name the scene VN password. Okay, change scenes, and down here, VN password. Okay, so now we're on this page, and it's a point and click. So we have our 4 digits here, and upon interacting, we set a variable. So we're going to go ahead, we want to change this. We don't want the local 0. You're going to need 4 variables as well. So this variable, we're going to call this digit 1 key, right? And we're going to kind of do this for the same. So number of options, and I put it in a menu choice. Okay, so I was kind of play testing, and something I realized, so under menu, we only can set it through 1 through 8. So we're going to cheat, and we're not going to tell anybody about it. No one's going to know except for everyone that watches this. So these random digits, a minimum value of 1 and a max value, value. Oh my goodness. A minimum value of 1 and a max value of 8. So we're just going to cheat. So basically 9 and 0 will not get utilized at all. They're going to be false. So if they end up making it 9 or a 0, that's impossible. So that kind of limits our code a little bit. But again, that's the fun thing about playing with the Game Boy, is learning these different restrictions and then implementing them and getting creative. How can you still make it work? How can we still make this happen? And so here we have it. The solution is basically 8 choices. So here we go. So upon interacting, it's going to be 1 through 8. So 6, 7. Okay. Oh, but wait, that's going to give it away that we can't use 9 or 0, isn't it? So it's still not exactly a solution. How can I do that? That is a problem. I'm going to have to kind of think about that. We're going to continue through this for now, as it's somewhat of a solution. It's not the best solution, but I'll kind of keep playing with that and seeing what we can do to maybe fix that or to make that different. But basically, they're going to have to put a number between 1 through 8. And then you need a bunch of if statements. If it's 1, if it's 2, if it's 3, you know, and so on and so forth. Kind of like what we did earlier with, was it you? Yes. So kind of like what we did with this. So on interact, that happens. So when we interact, we then need if statements to change what that is. So if digit key is equal to 1. Let me close this. Makes it easier so we can see better. We need to change the frame. So frame, set it to 1. This would be on update. So if I do that right now, I don't think that's going to work. I think it's going to still stay 0 because I've already interacted with it. Oh no, that did change it. Okay, we're good. So I'm going to copy this and paste event after 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so F1, 3, 3, 4, 4, so on and so forth till we get to our lucky number 8. And if you happen to know the solution to this little problem we have, let me know in the comment section down below to kind of implement that. I'm going to do some research after the fact. For now, I'm just going to move forward to kind of keep this tutorial going. But yeah, if you happen to know the solution to get 9 and 0 in there as well, let me know in the comment section. So, okay, so that is for digit key 1. And basically, we just need to copy this whole script, copy script, and we're going to paste it here, digit 2. And then all we need to do is scroll down, rename to digit 2 key, right? Was that what I called the other one? Digit 1 key? Yeah, so digit 2 key. 2 key. Just change this down. Where are you at? 2 key, 2 key. Okay, copy this script. Let's go to our third one, replace script. Scroll on down, get to variable 16, digit 3 key. Oops, I clicked off of it. There we go. And replace all these. Just scroll down and change them to digit 3 keys. Everything else could stay the same because it's changing its own self to the animation frame that we need. So all we have to do is just change the variable that we're playing with. So just going to go down the line, get all these swapped out. Okay. And last but not least, replace script on our fourth one and scroll on down. 17, rename, digit 4 key. Okay. Okay. So now we've changed all of our passcodes here. And now the fun part is if we click the check mark, we need to compare. Compare if digit 1 is equal, oops, I missed it, digit 1 key, right? So if digit 1 is equal to digit 1 key, so they both line up, they are both the same, we then want to do another if, compare. And if digit 2 is equal to digit 2 key, we then want to compare, so on and so forth, digit 3 to digit 3 key. And lastly, digit 4 with digit 4 key, okay? So if all of those line up, we want a message to display. Let's go edgy. Let's go I'm in. And then we'll change the scene. But we don't actually have the scene ready. So, okay. So this will be a big test here to make sure that all that works. We're going to go ahead and test out and see if everything we just did works. And that's why it's important to play test before, you know, each little thing you change. It's okay to play test. You're going to be play testing your projects 100 million times over the littlest thing that didn't need a test. You're testing it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play. We're gonna start this from scratch and we're gonna see just how well this works. Okay, and here we go. Got away with that fight. I wonder if it's 2, 2, 4, 5 again. I wonder if like each time I hit play, like it's just like resetting the same thing because it's technically like the first time I've done it. That'll be interesting. And boop. Oh no, that's a 5. Okay, so different code. 5, 3. Okay. So 5356, that is our code. So 5356, yes, I want to leave. Great, we now have the passcode 5356. Okay, let's get to Apollo's door. That was easy. Finally, I made it. Time to put in this passcode. What was it again? Oh, that's right, 5356. All right, so here we go. 5, all right. Okay, so these aren't aligned up too good. 535 and 5356. Here we go. Oh shit. All of that and it doesn't work. But we got everything up to this point to work just right. So that's great. That's good news actually. Put a dude in here. Put a guy in here. Uninteract. So if we interact with them, we're going to display some dialogue. Code is, and we're going to go digit 1, digit 2, digit 3, digit 4. Okay. Next, he's going to say, you entered digit 1 key, digit 2 key, digit 3 key, and digit 4 key. Okay. So we can see what's happening here. Okay. So let's interact with him. Code is 5356. You've entered 0000. Okay. 5356. Okay. Well, I mean, there's confirmation. The code is 5356. You entered 5356. But why can't we advance? I'm wondering if that button has to be an actor instead of it being a trigger. That might be all the difference in the world. It might not. I'm not sure. He's just going to be hanging out right there, huh? Okay. Or we might have to do some menu changes. Oh my goodness. Okay, now we're stuck in a constant I'm in loop. So the good news is that went better. That went a lot better, but we still want it to be on interact and not just, we could make it auto pop up and then we change scenes and the door opens and we go into the office, but we want to kind of make that a little bit more personalized. Okay, so we were so close many times, but I just went through it again. Making it an actor definitely helps. So 5356, right? So we're going to go ahead and the code is 5356. You enter 5356. And then he goes, I'm in. So if I change this, I might change that to a 5. He should just say nothing afterwards, right? Okay, perfect. So what I ended up doing, instead of on update, kind of what we did exactly before, where if digit 1 matches digit 1 key, or key matches digit 1, then does digit 2 match digit 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. And if yes, all that works, then say I'm in. So we had that correct the first time around. It's just that we weren't implementing it properly. So now that it's implemented properly on an actor, we're going to go ahead when we need to change our password screen, make it so these digits are a little bit more separated as they currently kind of keep intertwining with one another. And we just need to make it a little bit more spread out. So that way you can clearly click which one that you're trying to click on and not have this overlapping. And also we need our little dude here to get out of the way for when the menu pops up. He's kind of just standing right in the middle of it. So let's go ahead and do that and we'll be right back. All right, so we changed a couple things around. We spread these out, and then we also added a button here instead of having dot and echo. And this is actually going to be a check mark. It's a 2-framed animation. So also, when we hit play, we're not going to spawn here and go through the whole dungeon and then go back up. I'm just making a spawn right here at the computer, so we can hopefully speed this process up just a little bit. So let's go and hit play and check this out. Let's see. Oops. Actually talk to the computer. Okay. All right. Almost better. Almost. Okay. And it works. Okay, let's go ahead and change a digit. I'm going to change this to a 5 as well. And it does not proceed. It does not continue because the code was not correct. So, okay. So we officially have that set up the way we need to, so we can continue and advance forward with this tutorial. All right. So the next step here, we're going to add a scene. We want a kind of a slow reveal. We're finally getting to the boss's room. We don't want it to, that might be too slow. Let's go 5. You know, and we want to really get this to kind of be the big event. Okay, so yeah, we're going to have the big reveal. It's going to be spectacular. Wow. If all that checks out, we want to change scene 18. We're going to hide our actor, okay? We want to wait. Let's wait 1.3 seconds, okay? And this is when we're going to get into the real dialogue-y, the real meat and potatoes of this visual novel. You know, we kind of had some aspects up here with our main character, and then we kind of did a couple of things. But here's where we're going to really get into dialogue back and forth between our character and the boss, and really kind of flesh that out. So, oops, not add an actor. We're going to add a scene after that. And we want Apollo. Okay. There's our two guys right here. We got this guy being Apollo and this guy being our bounty hunter. So basically, I figure like the light flicks on, creating the light background because we were in the dark. We're sneaking around is what we were attempting beforehand. But now the lights are on, so we got this white background and our player here. So let's go ahead. Let's make the back of that black and white. It's kind of the theme we were going with. Okay. And they're going to exchange dialogue back and forth. Now, there's a lot of things that we can do here. We can do change scenes where it's hopping back and forth, and we're using triggers to hop back and forth to continue the dialogue where the last one left off. And we can even utilize actors. I don't have it set up, but we can utilize actors to change expression, you know, so that way they're blinking, they're, you know, if they had blank faces and if these were set up properly, you know, we could have it to where they're talking, you know, have a line moving back and forth, have eyes you know, squiggle around, whatever, you know, you desire out of it, to add some animation to it. And those would run in the background while dialogue's happening back and forth. And you can just make it really expressive in that way. Again, there's limitations to how much you can do, but it would present something there. So here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this right here to kind of be going, like saying to push A to get through the dialogue. And I think I'm going to do the same over here. We'll go 3-line. I think that's plenty, you know, per segment. And it's just going to be spamming A, basically saying like, hey, we're in the talkie part. This is the showdown. This is what's happening. Make sure to label your scenes like I didn't do. So this is VN Apollo Office. Okay. I'm going to name, oops. I'm going to name this one VN, oops, APOLLO. Okay. And VN Player Light. Okay, because they're in the light now. Okay, so we enter the code, we get in here. We're not going to be displaying anything, so we're going to do that. We're going to hide. So that's all handled and taken care of. It's just going to be like a logo screen, so we can put all the effort into getting that to do what it needs, okay? And then when we change scene from here, we want to change scene to up here. The first thing that we want to do is hide actor. And we even want to change this. So our sprite count went from 15 to 4 because there's 0 tiles in this empty sprite. So basically it's invisible and it's a lot less. This animation has 4 animations. So it's the A button going up and down like you're pressing it. So it just kind of helps save resources. If the Game Boy doesn't need to be working to hide these things or have those limitations, you should remove them as best as you can. I'm going to go ahead and just hide our player here and make it the empty. We're going to make our character empty on this one as well. From there, it's now the showdown. These two are going to have a back and forth, and there's going to be a ton of conditional branches where the player is going to determine the outcome of what happens during the showdown. So let's go ahead. We're going to start building a story. We want to make this descriptive. If like this is going on, I kind of wrote down like a template, like a kind of I wrote out an outline to kind of help me keep this organized as far as like how this is going to go. And to make this descriptive, what we could do here, instead of it saying I'm in, we can then instead put different dialogue here, like a descriptive dialogue, to make it kind of like, hey, the door slides open. So it just kind of adds description there. And then it changes scene to the office when we're getting ready, we're stepping in. Okay, now here we want display dialogue. Well, infamous bounty hunter finally makes, I think we can get that on there. Yeah, appearance. Can I fit what? No, I can't. What do I owe to pleasure? Apollo knows. Let's call it displeasure. What do I owe the displeasure? Here we go. We can set up different triggers that are going to keep happening back and forth to kind of create motion, to create movement within the scene. That way it's not stagnant and it's not just bleh, you know? So I'm going to drag our play button down here, and it should be autocorrect, because if we don't have this up here to change the numbers, it should be zeros. And if we start here, if that's all zeros, then it should work. So let's go ahead and hit play. Code is 000, you enter that. The door slides open with the oh man. Okay, so that's something interesting. It scrolled. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Ready for anything. Okay, there we have that A going up and down, and Apollo's talking. Perfect. Okay, so that's a good height. We got the 3. Everything was still visible. It works. So we're going to go ahead and keep that height. Something to keep in mind, I suppose, is that this got a little long. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, delete all that, and paste the remainder there. It looks like, there we go, just a little bit of cleanup. Okay, now I'll make that a little bit easier, and then it'll look nicer too. So let's set up some branches, shall we? So we're going to go set. Actually, let's go value. This will be handy because this will tell us we can use one variable, and we should be able to just keep incrementing it 1, and then change, you know, the dialogue will change based off of that. So we're going to go Apollo dialogue. Okay, so if it's 0, which it will be by default, we'll have this happen. Okay, to what do I owe the displeasure? And then we're going to add increment, scroll down, and Apollo dialogue. It's going to go up by 1. Okay, and let's change scene to here. This is going to be fun. This is just going to be a lot of back and forth. We're going to have a lot of blue here, but if we have it as a value, then we can kind of just keep utilizing the same variable. We don't have to have 20 variables for one kind of back and forth. You know, we can just have the variable keep counting up by 1 each time, and each time if it's this value, this is what's going to happen. If it's this value, this is what's going to happen. If this, you know, and back and forth. So here we are. We're going to do kind of the same thing here. We're going to copy this event and let's paste it. And we need the next one, so variable 19, and we want player dialogue. Okay, so we want some text to happen here, and let's say, cut the small talk. Cut the small talk, Apollo. You know why I'm here. It's time to pay for your crimes, right? Okay, so then we want to increment the dialogue. Oops, player dialogue. There we go. By 1, and we want to change scenes back to, if I could find them, Apollo. So then we're going to copy this whole event. Copy event. We're going to paste event after. So if the increment is at 1, or not increment, I'm sorry, but if Apollo's dialogue is at 1, which it should be now because we increased it by 1 in the previous. Let's go ahead and get rid of these guys. And we have now created a loop where they are going to go back and forth depending on the value of the dialogue. So, you know, we're going to just have Apollo say crimes. You speak, got to make sure we stay within the confines of the box, as if you're some kind of hero. But we'll change next because we set 3 lines max, so that way this A button can continue being there. But we both know just a mercenary no better than the scum I employ. Okay, we'll add an increment to Apollo and we'll switch back over to here. Now we'll copy this and we'll paste event after. So if the dialogue is 1, which it should be, let's get rid of all that. And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to get into multiple choice, where the player is going to, you know, be able to decide what they want to say and have multiple choice as to, you know, like, I'm here for justice, your reign ends today, Apollo, or doesn't matter, you're coming with me one way or another, you know, and you get to kind of change the outcome of your story. And that's where we're building up to. We're having this exchange here, and then we're going to create basically these options, and the story will then branch into many different factors. If you say this is what happens. And this side panel is going to get very messy. So we're going to go ahead and start imploring that multiple choice. And basically, so we just had Apollo say, you know, you're no different than the mercenaries that like the scum that I employ. And so now our player is going to have a choice instead. So we deleted the display dialogue here, and we're going to actually get rid of this event entirely. So we want to do insert event before. We want to type up, it doesn't make sense, but we want menu, right? So we have a menu here and display a number of options. So each one of mine is going to have 3 options. Now we did menu before. We did it up here in the passwords as a menu. You know, when we clicked on these buttons, it displayed a menu, and we had it set as a menu layout. So it's that smaller style. Down here, we're going to have more. We want dialogue menu, right? So I'm going to constantly have 3 choices, and we're going to have the last option set to 0. So if you push B, it's going to pick option 3. That's just going to be by default. So just give like a little example is I'm here for justice. Nope. Okay. Justice. Okay. It's personal, right? One way or another. I don't like that. It's longer. Okay. Warm or cold. Okay. So that's our 3 options here in a dialogue kind of style. Basically, we can say, like, if they choose option 1, it's I'm here for justice. Your reign ends today, Apollo. 2 is it's personal. It's not just about the bounty. It's personal. Or 3 is doesn't matter. You're coming with me one way or another. It's basically we're saying you're going to come with me whether you're warm or whether you're cold. It's happening. So we now need to look at this variable and see where we go from here. So insert event after and type in value. So compare with value. If local 0 is equal, we'll start with 1. for justice, we'll display dialogue. I'm here for justice. Can I fit rain? It's kind of muddy. We'll do that. Oh yeah, wait, hang on a second. 3 lines are EIGN, and today Apollo. Okay, so that is if they said justice. Okay, then we would add an increment and change the scene. So you see, we're going to be doing that a lot, and this is going to get really long, and you're going to have to keep it organized as best as you can to try to figure out exactly where we're at with this. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to copy this event. I just made it smaller, and then I'm going to paste the event after. If option 2, I'm going to say not about the bounty. Well, this is, all right, personal. And we can develop off that, you know, maybe there's some history between these two. In my story, in my game of Everstar, there is some personal history between these two. And, you know, you can develop this into whatever you may want it to be. But if we go, it's not about the bounty, this is personal, well, now there's something there, you know. Is the player interested in uncovering what their connection is? Like, how do they know each other? Did they work together? Were they lovers? You know, where's that leading? And so basically we say it's not about that, it's personal. Okay, and we'll do it again, is paste events after. So if it's set to 0, which again, we said up here, 1 for justice, 2 for personal, 0 for warm or cold. Okay, so if set to 0, we're going to say, doesn't matter. You're coming with me one way. I definitely won't be able to fit another. So one way or another. Okay. So that one's kind of like, we're going to fight. Like, I don't care. You're coming with me. And then it reverts back. So let's go ahead. Let's test out this back and forth real quick. Let's see if this is working or if it's not working. Okay. So it should be 0, 0. Yep. That's definitely more manageable. We fade in. Well. I don't want to read this out loud. Well. The infamous bounty hunter finally makes an appearance. To what do I owe the displeasure? Got the small talk, Apollo. You know why I'm here. It's time to pay for your crimes? You speak as if you're some kind of hero. But we both know you're just a mercenary. No better than the scum I employ. So we make our choice, you know. So let's go ahead. Let's say it's not about the bounty. This is personal. And we haven't set up Apollo to have a response to that yet. So far, it's working well. They're able to interact back and forth. There's some movement with the scenes changing. You know, it's not the best, but again, that's the limitations of the Game Boy. And there's not really too much we can do to get around that. We can try to do like an overlay where kind of like when Pokemon you get into a battle, we could try to do something like that. And I tried messing with that off camera and tried doing that like outside, and I could not figure it out. How to get that to happen and how to get that to work with how things needed to be. So I tried messing with that outside of recording, and I tried to make that happen. But each time I tried, I kept running into limitations of either GB Studio or the Game Boy itself, and I just couldn't figure it out. So to me, and my limited knowledge on this, is basically we're stuck within the confounds of kind of just going back and forth, having this conversation back and forth until we reach either a resolution or a confrontation. And each choice you make, we can make it matter to where, you know, maybe you don't have to fight Apollo, or maybe you really do have to fight. We can try different methods to reach the conclusion. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to finish out the story of building these two back and forth, and then that way we can cut to the end and I can show you guys kind of just the dialogue back and forth, how that's happening. But basically you want to keep utilizing these. If the player dialogue is equal to X, then this is what happens, and then it changes. And then when it comes back, it's not going to be equal to 1, so you won't have, you know, this local 0. It won't be equal to any of those. It's going to be set back to normal, and you'll be able to keep going with that dialogue. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I'm going to cut to the end with some movie magic, and that way you guys don't have to watch just the whole thing of me typing this out, back and forth, and we'll finish it out. So right away, one thing that I kind of forgot is that, so over here on the player side, when the player's talking and making their choice, you can set it to local 0 options and set 1, 2, 3, and then branch off of that. But when they make a choice, you then have to actually trigger a different variable that is required, because otherwise Apollo's not going to know what the player chose. There's no way to tell if you're doing local 0, what did the player choose? Did the player choose A, B, or C? And so what we need to do, so like for this one, if they chose 1, justice, we're then going to insert an event before and set a variable. Where are you? We'll set a variable to true. We'll set it. We'll have to come down here and we'll have to rename this. We're going to rename this one justice just for ease, right? So then when we're on Apollo, we then need to compare, right? So if true, and when you scroll down to if justice is true, where are you, justice? Did I not hit save? I might not have hit save. No, I didn't. Okay, justice. Okay, so if justice is true, how does Apollo respond to that? You know, and then so these will go in here ultimately, and you'll have 3 of them based off what was decided that the player did over here. So I'm going to go ahead, justice variable, this one, we're going to add an event, and we're going to go set true, scroll down, 21, we'll call this one personal, and we'll add an event here, true, scroll down, 22, dead or alive, okay? And back over here on Apollo side, we're going to go ahead and copy this event, paste event after, and paste event. That's fine. This one's justice, this one's personal, and this one will be dead or alive. Okay, and then you'll just add your dialogue in, and at the end of each of these, within if it's this, you again add an increment, so it goes up by 1. So this will then, it will become, right now we're on 2, it'll become 3, and you don't want it in the else category, otherwise you'll add 2, and then your dialogue will get mixed up, and it won't be concise. It'll be kind of, what? So, we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to finish this out now that I remember that we have to do that, so that way Apollo and the player know what each one did. And we'll go from there. And now you guys get to hear kind of how I do all the recording stuff. So that's interesting. And also kind of embarrassing. Okay, here we go. All right, so we just finished making everything work for these 2 talking. And let's go ahead and just see the final product. We're going to go ahead and hit the play button here. And our game is going to start out in the elevator, where then we can talk to it and go down to the visual novel, and once we reach our floor, here the game begins. Here I am inside the compound. It's quieter than I expected, but I can't let my guard down. Every shadow could be hiding a guard, every corner a surprise. Our player is in the dungeon, and we're going to walk through. We have our first encounter, so we only have a few of these set up still. I did not add any while off camera, but we're going to go ahead and keep walking, take these out. Now remember, if we touch this door, and like we actually talk to it, it takes us back to the elevator and we start all over. It's just kind of a quick way to get back out if needed. And here is Apollo's door. So when we talk to it and we don't have the passcode yet, it just says it's locked, and our character says, the computer. I need to access Apollo's computer. It's the key to accessing his office. I just need to find it, hack it, and get what I need. So we don't have it yet. We know it's down here at the end. When you're actually making your file and when you're actually making your game, you'll probably want to, 1, have more zones that the character can enter and exit out of battle, but also make the numbers a little bit more frequent. You don't want to be too frequent where it's annoying, but also don't want to make it where it's infrequent, where we're just blazing through this. So we're accessing the computer. We'll hit this code here, and it does look like our codes are now changing. This is 767, sorry, I can read numbers, 7657 over, and we'll come down here at the end and hit exit. Great, I now have the passcode for Apollo's door, 7657. So in each playthrough, this will be randomized. So it really just depends on how lucky. I was leave a battle and immediately back in one. That was interesting. Haven't had that yet. You know, so it'll just really depend. Each playthrough will be entirely different, and you can utilize that for many different projects of yours, where if you want something to always be different, you don't want players to be able to share, hey, you know, at this part of the game, you know, just put in this passcode and you can get in. Having it randomized definitely helps with that, and so that way, no matter what, it will always be different. So we have the passcode now. Finally, I made it. Time to put in this passcode. What was it again? Oh, that's right, 7657. So we'll change this to 7657, change that back, and 7. Okay, so the door slides open with a quiet hiss, revealing Apollo at his desk, his eyes cold and calculating. I step inside, ready for anything. So I changed tense here, which is, I'm just kind of noticing. But anyways, continuing on. Make sure to keep the current tense going throughout your story. So here we have Apollo. I don't think I'm going to do a voice now that there's a live audience. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think if I was just recording, that might change. Well, well, well. The infamous bounty hunter finally makes an appearance. To what do I owe the displeasure? Got the small talk, Apollo. You know why I'm here. It's time for you to pay for your crimes. Crimes? You speak as if you're some kind of hero. But we both know you're just a mercenary, no better than the scum I employ. So for this one, I think what we're going to do is warm or cold, right? Yes. Does it matter? You're coming with me, one way or another. Confident, aren't you? But overconfidence can be a fatal flaw. Are you sure you're prepared for what comes next? And these two options here basically result in a fight to occur. Basically, he's just like, all right, bring it. You know, and each one has its own separate dialogue, but they result at the same. The last one here, we programmed where there's a chance that Apollo could surrender instead of actually fight the player. And so I'm going to choose that option just to kind of showcase that, that option. There's still a chance to surrender peacefully, Apollo. You're either brave or foolish to think I'd surrender, but I respect your audacity. So Apollo flips a coin, and it keeps landing on heads. We have not had it land on tails once, but there is a chance it can do that. So the coin lands on heads. Oh, things don't look too good for you. We have a screen flash, and now Apollo is absolutely jacked, definitely ate his can of spinach, and is ready to fight. So let's see what you got. And that is the end. I did not program a fight. We are back here in the elevator. Utilize this for your projects. Make it yours. Do what you want with it. I'll include the project files in the description down below. So definitely just check it out. Have fun with it. Play with it. And see what you can make out of it. GB Studio is a great program and is a ton of fun. So let me know in the comment section down below what you make. Have a great week, everyone, and take care.